because Mrs. Baker was often the one that would run up and give me a hug. I love this. This is the best part, you guys.
Yeah, we've lost some talk.
Hi and welcome to Flossom Talk. I'm Kjersti Flå, journalist, Hollywood truth teller, and your voice of reason in a town built on delusion. As you know, last week was crazy in the Lively versus Baldoni Wayfarer saga. Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties filed a motion for summary judgment so that the judge could look at all the evidence they have and hopefully say, this doesn't even need to go to trial because there's not really a case here. Anyways, from that, a lot of new evidence was available to us. And that evidence made headlines. So now the narrative is changing from Blake Lively being a victim till Blake Lively improvised kisses with Justin Baldoni that wasn't in the script of It Ends With Us. And from her supportive husband now being the angry husband who berated and belittled Justin Baldoni for 5 hours in their penthouse. So far, Blake's team has not come out and commented on anything, but they did file something on Friday that made me laugh. This is so desperate, you guys. You won't believe this filing from both Ryan and Blake. They're hoping now to bring Ryan back in, that maybe that would create some headlines. We'll see about that. Also, TMZ just published another ridiculous story. You won't believe how they're twisting the story now. And also, what happened to that poll that TMZ did last week when they asked who the public believes? And 91% of people said that they believe Justin Baldoni. Now, that whole poll is missing. So last week, there were hundreds of attachments of new evidence in Justin Baldoni's motion for summary judgment. And we haven't been able to see more than, I think, about 15-20% of that because the rest is under seal. We can see what we think might be in there because the evidence is marked BL for Blake Lively, LS for Leslie Sloan, and also there are some documents marked RR subpoena. Let's talk about that. We also have to get more into some of the depositions of Justin Baldoni here because it's so crazy. This is so cringe and it completely backfired on Blake Lively's attorney when she was interrogating him about hugging on the set of It Ends With Us, and also how Jenny Slate looks like a complete hypocrite after saying that she was offended by Justin calling her pants sexy. Yeah, there's a lot to go through here, you guys, but before we get into any of that, I wanted to send a big thank you to the sponsor of this video, Tiki Solitaire Tri-Peaks. I think I just found the cutest tropical escape on my phone and I'm hooked. It's basically a vacation disguised as a game. You join Tiki and his adorable pup Poi and travel from island to island, solving colorful solitaire puzzles that makes you feel like you're on the beach instead of being in traffic, waiting for the train or waiting for your coffee. It's super easy to start, but the fun part is to mastering it. There are wild cards, streak multipliers, and little strategy moments that make it feel so satisfying. And there are over 4,000 levels, so there's always something new. Plus, you can team up with your friends or even join clubs, which makes it extra fun. I usually play a few rounds at night just to unwind or when I'm waiting for the dinner to get ready. Download Tiki Solitaire Tri-Peaks for free from the link in my description and get 10,000 free coins. It's fun, it's relaxing. Start your island adventure now. Okay, as I said, there's only about 20% of the evidence that we've been able to see so far. So everything that Baldoni's team found in discovery from Blake Lively's side is still sealed and it's marked with initials of the person that the evidence belongs to. And there are some RR, Ryan Reynolds, marked evidence here. And it says that there are text messages marked RR, subpoena, and text messages. And these text messages are sent on July 13th, and they're marked August 9th, the day of the premiere of It Ends With Us, August 10th, August 12th, 13th, then August 15th, and then August 17th and 18th. So these are texts related to It Ends With Us and or Justin Baldoni. And as we know, in January, Daily Mail wrote this, that Blake and Ryan will be subpoenaed to turn over all texts and emails about Justin Baldoni, and it ends with us. And we haven't seen any of that yet. So I am so curious to see what kind of bombshell is hiding behind those text messages that Ryan Reynolds sent to people. We don't know who he sent these text messages to, or what they said, but we know they're about It Ends With Us, and we know they're about Justin Baldoni. Anyway, the way it looks like now, Ryan Reynolds is not likely to actually testify for Blake in court. And the reason for that is because if he were to testify, he would have to share a lot from their private life. It will be really intrusive and it will be really personal, and all that stuff will then be public knowledge. He will be asked about their intimate life and if that was affected from Blake being SH'd on the set, what they usually do. You know, these things can be extremely intrusive, and he would most likely be asked why he let his wife go back to the set if he knew that she was being SH'd. Why didn't he do anything about it? They have enough money in the world to just pull out of a project. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they go to HR? Why didn't they go to SAG? Why didn't they report this anywhere if it was such a big problem? So yeah, we're not going to see Ryan Reynolds on that stand protecting or standing up for his wife, because he knows that that would be devastating for him. As we can see now from parts of Justin Baldoni's deposition, Blake Lively's attorneys really went for it. They were asking him about so many personal details. You won't believe this interrogation that they did to try and twist things around to make him seem like a bad person with bad character, that's not trustworthy, and that doesn't know what boundaries are. Anyway, let's just look quickly at this TMZ article that was published where they're saying that Justin Baldoni joked on set. Sorry, I missed the SH training. That's the story that TMZ just published. Justin Baldoni made an offhanded remark as the cast of It Ends With Us was getting ready to shoot a scene. He says, sorry, I missed the SH training, but it was a joke about the wardrobe for the scene. So TMZ admits here that it was a joke because they were all wearing big, fluffy onesies. And still they made a story about it. Isn't that interesting? In the filing, Baldoni's team says Justin was apologizing if this remark was inappropriate. A couple of minutes later, during prep for the same scene, Justin says, well, my apologies, while talking to Blake and Jenny, and Blake responds, all good. I mean, can you imagine working on a set where every little word that you use or everything that you say can be twisted around? And at this point, for Justin to come to this set, can you imagine the terror for him to be on that set every day with these women? Because Jenny Slate was really on Team Blake all the way from the start. So why does TMZ want to twist the story from evidence that Justin Baldoni filed, because this is from the video that he filed, and try and twist it into something negative for him? Because that's what they're doing here. They're saying it was a joke, but they're still trying to twist things around. They're trying to take a harmless moment and strip away the context. They're showing like 5 seconds here of an 8-minute video, and then they're just slapping this sensational headline on it, making it seem like Justin is guilty of something. This doesn't prove harassment at all. It just proves the opposite. And I find it especially interesting when thinking about this poll that TMZ did last week, because they were publishing a story about this kiss that that Justin Baldoni says that Blake Lively improvised. That story that was headlines everywhere last week. They posted on Instagram that story, pushing that story, and then they added a poll asking people, do you believe Justin or do you believe Blake? And from this poll, at the time when I took this screenshot, it was 61,700 responses. And 91% say that they believe Justin Baldoni, and 9% say that they believe Blake. I don't know how many of those 9% are bots, but I'm assuming about 8% of them. But the interesting thing here is that 90% of the public actually believes Justin Baldoni here. So what do you think happened to this poll that they had on their grid on Instagram? It disappeared. It's gone. Yeah, I went into TMZ's Instagram and I could not find this post anymore. They just removed it. Keep in mind that TMZ knows that 91% of their readers don't believe Blake Lively, and they still publish stories to push her narrative. Why? So let's get quickly into this new filing from Blake and Ryan. They brought Ryan into this all of a sudden again, and everyone was like, why did they file this together? And the short answer for that is because there's a bigger chance that the media will pick up something if both Blake and Ryan are involved. So then they filed this desperate, stupid thing in hopes that someone would pick it up. I haven't seen anyone do that so far. So what they're saying in this letter to the judge is that he should sanction Baldoni and the Wayfarer. Have you heard this before? Anyway, they're saying now that since they have deposed Steve Sarowitz and Jennifer Abel, they now know that they didn't have a reason to sue Ryan and Blake. And that's why they want the judge now to sanction them. So they're saying that Steve Sarowitz admitted he didn't really have a factual basis for the claim he filed against Blake and Ryan. As you know, all these people came together and did a countersuit against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Leslie Sloan and the New York Times. And now they're saying that Steve and then Jennifer Abel supposedly admitted the same thing, that she personally couldn't articulate the facts behind some of those claims. And funny part is here, they didn't even put in this letter what those comments actually were or what they actually admitted, because that part they blacked out. So there's no evidence there. So this so-called shocking testimony, we can't even see it. So instead of responding to Justin's filings, they're saying to the judge, don't look at all that evidence over there. Look at this. They're the problem. Yeah, so now they're hoping that when they pulled Ryan back into this, that he's also asking for sanctions here, that the media will pick it up. And that's the only reason why they filed this letter. Because there's no way the judge is going to look at this now. That case was dismissed in May or June. And he's not going to look at this stuff now. Like, why? Where is this coming from? Randomly, the day after Justin Baldoni filed all this revealing evidence? No. And this again just proves that they have nothing. Okay, now we have to get to the wildest part of Justin Baldoni's testimony. When I read this, I was like, I don't know, I can't even believe this happened. So this is about hugging on the set. Okay, so I have to read this from the deposition here, or from the testimony, because it just, like, the way it unfolds. I mean, how can you keep a straight face when asking these questions? So Mr. Gottlieb, Blake Lively's attorney, is asking Justin Baldoni these questions. So he starts asking, okay, you hugged Ms. Lively on multiple occasions on the set, right? And Baldoni says yes. Every day? Baldoni says no. How many times would you estimate that I hugged Ms. Lively? And Gottlieb says on the set, so not outside of the set environment, but at work on the set. And Baldoni says, are these hugs, I'm so sorry, are these hugs that I initiated, or are these hugs that I was recipient of? You can characterize it however you'd like, says her lawyer. And Baldoni says, I just want to be as accurate in my testimony as possible. Okay. As it relates to the hugging, that was my question. What was the question? Which one? Gottlieb says, you can include hugs that you believe you initiated and hugs you believe Ms. Lively initiated. And Baldoni says, like, lump them all together? And then he says, yeah, sure, best estimate. Okay. Yes, number of times, says Gottlieb. And then Baldoni says, maybe a greeting and an exit. So at the most, maybe, again, I don't know. That's my answer to you, Mr. Gottlieb. I don't know. And then Mr. Gottlieb says, fair enough. And when you don't know, that's what I always want your answer to be. I don't know, says Baldoni. Do you know who Vivian Baker is? Asks Blake's attorney. Vivian Baker is Ms. Lively's makeup artist, I believe, says Baldoni. Do you know that she testified under oath in this case? Baldoni says, I assume her testimony would be under oath. Then Gottlieb says, do you know that she testified under oath in this case? Yes, says Baldoni. Are you aware that she testified that there were a culture of hugging on the set of It Ends With Us? I am now, says Baldoni. Are you aware that she said that that made a number of people uncomfortable? I find that odd, says Baldoni. You find that odd? Why? Asks Gottlieb. Because Mrs. Baker was often the one that would run up and give me a hug. I love this. This is the best part, you guys. And then Blake's lawyer says, and because of that, you find it odd that she testified that a number of people felt uncomfortable with the culture of hugging on the set of It Ends With Us? Correct, says Baldoni. And then he just completely changes the subject and he's like, do you remember earlier when you testified about the hot tub? And then Baldoni says, you're referring to what? SH? So he testified that he felt that he was SH'd by this producer when he was in a hot tub earlier. And of course, because Blake's attorney at this point realized that he made a fool of himself because actually Blake's makeup artist was the one hugging Baldoni and not the other way around. And that just... It just makes this whole thing so ridiculous. And because of all of this, that's why Baldoni attached that video evidence that I showed last week when people were coming up to him, initiating hugs and giving him hugs. And then some people have pointed out that it looks like also Isabella Ferrer in that video that you can see here, that she was trying to hug him and he blocked her. So that whole thing of the culture of hugging, which is like, I do understand some people are not huggers and everyone has to respect that. But this whole thing is so dumb, especially now we know that Vivian Baker, Blake Lively's makeup artist, has agreed to testify that there was a culture of hugging while she herself is a hugger who ran up to Justin to hug him. All these contradictions are just coming out of all this evidence and it just makes me really laugh. People magazine actually did a story on this, which I was quite impressed with. They said Justin Baldoni responds to claim that he fostered a culture of hugging on the set. Remember, they also used the word toxic positivity about the set, that it was too positive, that people felt really like uncomfortable around it. I mean, when you look at Justin Baldoni's deposition and the way that he's interrogated by Blake Lively's attorneys, it's so clear what they're doing right here. I feel like I've seen this been done in movies so many times when you're trying to get someone to look guilty and you know that they're innocent and they're just twisting and twisting and twisting things around, trying to make you to go into some kind of trap that they can twist that around again against you. And what they're doing here, what we've seen in this deposition so far, that they're trying to make Justin look like a man who doesn't know boundaries and who crosses boundaries. And they're using things that he's said in the past against him. They're going after his character because they can't go after the facts, because they don't have any facts. They go into his history, like going 20 years back, asking about his ex-girlfriends. They're also asking about a hot tub incident that Justin has talked about in Glamour magazine. I think he spoke about that incident that happened to him when he felt aged by this man. And they're using this against him and asking him basically, couldn't you just beat up that guy? They're trying to make his self-awareness into guilt. They're trying everything they can in their power to smear his character. And then they're asking him a lot about that comment he made to Jenny Slate when he said that her leather pants looked sexy. And he's saying that he was even saying that in front of his own wife. It was an impulsive throwaway comment. And it wasn't repeated after that. But Blake's lawyers just dragged that out for pages, asking him about that comment. So apparently what happened was that Jenny Slate had these leather pants on and walked onto set. And Justin said, wow, those pants look sexy on you. That was too much for Jenny Slate. She could not handle that anyone said her pants were sexy. That's why this is the big question. I saw this on Reddit yesterday and I was like, wow, this is so revealing. So Jenny Slate posted this video on her Instagram and it says, dressed up to promote It Ends With Us, but pleased to announce my new short film, shown here in full, entitled Mom's Rump, starring me, and yes, I love this outfit, blah, blah, blah. So she is shaking her tush through this completely see-through dress so we can all see her bum, but she cannot handle if someone says that her pants are sexy. That she feels is harassment, but she has no issues showing her bum to the entire world, shaking it on Instagram. I'm wondering, when she's on the stand in this trial as a witness and Baldoni's lawyer is asking her, what was the look you were going for here? Would you say this look is classy? Or maybe you would say this look is, were you trying to be sexy here? So then she has to deny that she doesn't want to look sexy. Because to me, if you're wearing something that is a bit revealing, you're going for a look that makes you look sexy. But then you don't want anyone to point out that you're going for the look of trying to be sexy. You just want to be sexy. I mean, how hypocritical is that? Talking about Jenny Slate's Instagram, she has like 900,000 followers on Instagram. And I saw most of her posts have like 200 likes. That doesn't add up at all. I wonder if she's using the same company as Blake and Ryan. And I also saw this on Reddit, which is so funny. So this is a screenshot of Blake and Ryan's social media and how they're losing like tens of thousands of followers every single day. And then all of a sudden on Friday, the 7th of November, both got a big boost. So Ryan Reynolds all of a sudden got 22,000 new followers that day, and nothing special happened that day. And Blake got 16,000 new followers. And then the next day again, everything just kept dropping again. Like this person was commenting on Reddit saying, hey, this is probably the day that they're paying the bots to boost their accounts. Anyways, also on Reddit, someone pointed out that apparently Blake has more Instagram followers than Natalie Portman, Julia Roberts, and Nicole Kidman combined, and more than Reese Witherspoon and Angelina Jolie. Not at all bot suspicious, this person is saying. So true. I did a deep dive into both Blake and Ryan's social media accounts a few months ago, and I found some really interesting stuff there on who their followers are and the engagement on their accounts. And I think I found out that approximately about 80 or 90% of their followers are bots. So here's another example where this person added a screenshot of Blake's followers. As you can see here, a lot of them are even using the same profile picture. Oh my God, it's so pathetic. Anyway, before I go, I wanted to say that I actually watched Sydney Sweeney's new movie, Christie. And I have to say, being a movie about DV, because that is what that movie is about, it's so powerful. It's so much better than It Ends With Us. And it really grabbed me. I know a lot of people have issues with Sydney Sweeney, but she is so freaking good in that movie. And if you can see past all the controversy and go and watch the movie for what it is really one of my favorite movies this year. And I think that the story deserves to be heard and to be seen. Also, if you missed my interview with the wonderful, amazing 99-year-old Elaine Lalaine that I published this weekend, I really recommend watching that. It will be a good therapy after listening to this episode about all this drama, because she's turning 100 in March and she has so much wisdom about life, about relationships, about careers, and I just find her so inspiring. I'll leave a link below to that interview so you can watch it. That's it for me, you guys, but just a reminder before I go, you can download Tiki Solitaire Tri-Peaks for free from the link in my description and get 10,000 free coins. See you soon. Bye.
Yeah, we lost some time.